pleasure is a human right, and it's powerful, and it can be used as a tool to create connectivity, happiness, joy, laughter, silliness. Like, it can really make us feel like the best versions of ourselves.
I'm Amy.
I'm April.
Certified sex educators, sexperts of the year, and best-selling authors.
And we're on a mission to help you have more spicy, connected, and amazing shameless sex.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
We're so close, it's like we have our own language. We're making sex and relationships shameless.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code SHAMELESSSEX at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to the Shameless Sex Podcast. We are here not live from California and Canada.
Not live. But live.
But April's in Canada.
We're live with each other. Yes. And you're in California.
Yeah.
I'm only 3 hours ahead of you right now.
Yeah, but you're in Canada.
I know. And I'm in Toronto.
Yeah. I heard you.
How do you say Toronto? How do you say Toronto?
Toronto.
Yeah, that's
like
how
tomato.
Americans say it. My Uber driver was like, you say Toronto like an actual Canadian. I was like, thank you. I've worked really hard on this.
Do you say Toronto?
I do, because I've been here so many times that I learned not to say Toronto.
Oh.
That's how people that are not from Toronto say it.
It's like tomato, to Toronto.
It'd be like tomato, tamana.
Well, I'm very excited for your experience in Toronto.
You know what I'm excited for, Amy?
What's
the
that?
fact that we talked to people in the Magic and Wand experience, and we talked to Sue Ann. This episode was so cool.
It was cool.
Yeah, I am excited about talking to you, but like Magic Wand makes me happy from the inside out, and I didn't bring one to Toronto, and I am kind of bummed about it now that we're doing this.
You have your own hotel room and did not bring a magic wand, your favorite sex toy, to your hotel room in Toronto.
I have regret, and I didn't really think about it until right now when we're recording this, and I'm like, I kind of regret that.
Well, I think they sell them in sex shops in Toronto. So.
I'm going to have to do a trade. I'll be like, can I trade you...
I was really wondering what you were going to say. I'll trade you the pillow for my room.
Can I trade you 5 Shameless Sex books copies of Shameless Sex books for...
You didn't even bring those.
One. I didn't, but I would send them.
All right. Anyways, this episode is awesome. We're super excited about sharing this with all of you, but the study in general, listen to hear about it. And it's not just about the study, right? This is about an educational moment, understanding more about pleasure, primarily focused on pussy owners. And then, so we have Sex Ed with DB. She's been on our show many times. We've been on hers, and she created the study with 1,000 pussy owning humans.
Well, yes, there were 5,000 applicants. And I wanted to ask, but I didn't ask, which we can maybe have in the epilogue or whatever you call it at this point. Why didn't they choose 5,000? Probably because it would be too difficult to
have
all of those people.
5-year study. That's my guess. Yeah,
1,000 is a lot. That's a ton of people.
People that were wanting and willing to join the study. So learn about this and listen. And it's not just about the study. It's about the experiences and results that will translate to your own pleasure or maybe your partner's pleasure. And we, as April said, we were so fortunate to have one of the participants who is an anonymous human speaking on this podcast about their experience in the study. So her name is Snugs.
Oh, no, Sue Ann.
No, I just made it up. I just looked at a thing that says Snugs.
Sue Ann Snugs. Sue Ann Snugs. Sue Ann Snugs. We love Sue Ann Snugs. Quick announcement. So our retreat is coming up. And also Sarah, which is not in this episode, but she is one of our favorite educators from Magic Wand and from other things. She's her own human sex and relationship coach. She will be one of our teachers of our 5 human teaching staff. And the retreat is coming up September 11th. That's really soon. That's from when this episode goes out. I think it's maybe 2 weeks, maybe something like 2 weeks. This episode's on the 2nd of September. So I guess, it's very soon. So if anybody has an itch to do something crazy and amazing, not crazy, but amazing.
Spot left for 1 couple. And that's it. So to learn more, go to shamelesssex.com. That's where we have the information about the retreat. It's a retreat for learning about sexuality, about you and your partner, becoming more connected to yourself in your lovership. Most times people leave like more, I don't know, like more juicy alive. We also have a new tagline. We save relationships and marriages, because we've had people on the verge of divorce who left like, we remember why we're together in the first place. So hope to see you there. And if not, we'll see you in May, maybe, because that's probably our next one.
I'm really stoked on the people that are already joining us, though.
Yeah.
Right? We've got so many long-term couple ships that I can't wait to enjoy them in the sunshine of Palm Springs. Okay, so next question. I didn't read it. And so I'm going in.
You ready?
Just like my eyes closed. I'm feeling the question. Let's go.
You ready for the surprise?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Surprise again. I listened to the sex question on last week's episode, and I felt like it was my exact question, but I'm curious about one thing. My husband and I are monogamous, but also turned on by the idea of having sex with other people. And we find porn, and sometimes, and I like this part, sometimes sessions with online cam models. Big advocates of that to fulfill our desires, and it works. But we are having a hard time finding porn that actually looks real, like a threesome where everyone is genuinely enjoying hooking up with each other. They're really into it. Does the website you recommended, and I'll just say for people who are listening, didn't listen to last week's episode, it's ericalust.com. Does that website have what we are looking for?
Wait, can we start by like congratulating them for loving sometimes sessions with online cam models too?
Yeah. And so they are monogamous. Sounds like they want to stay monogamous, but they have these desires, right? It's to explore outward without, because I think a lot of people think like if you want to go and do like non-monogamy things, you have to actually physically do them with other people. But there's so many other ways to actually not engage with other people. And you and I say, April, right? Like sex workers often, and cam models, they're online, like it's the safest of safe versions. They're not going to fall in love with your partner, and there's no stids that can be passed on. So.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And guess what? Even the more, I think, operative, free-flowing, safer, and by safer, I mean, you don't have to have any human contact, would be watching Erica Lust films. Because they're hot. You can kind of interact with them on your own. Like when you like look at ericalust.com and what she has to offer as a filmmaker, like cam models though, I do appreciate. So
yeah. And that's more like, if you want like the really interactive thing, like, so like so what you're saying is like, with Erica Lust porn, so the answer to your question is yes. It shows real people who are genuinely attracted to each other. It's not that like fake
does
bullshit.
The website you recommend have that? That's the question. So yes. Okay.
Yes. And so with cam model people, right? You are interacting with them. With Erica Lust porn, or if you say you're watching other threesome porn or whatever, you can role play with your partner and pretending like you're interacting with them. And what this person's asking is, it's hard to find porn that is showing these like sexual experiences, whether it's non-monogamy or not, that actually feels real, right? A lot of it is like, are you faking it? Are you into it? And Erica, the answer is yes. Erica Lust porn is very much that. All the performers are engaged with each other in a way where they're genuinely attracted to each other. It's very real, authentic, and ethical. It's beautiful. It's hot. Let's just say hot too, by the way. Oh my God. I mean, April, I know you've watched it with your partner before.
I do. And I haven't really felt comfortable watching it until we started working with Erica Lust, because Erica Lust is finally a porn, and I don't want to call it a company, but Erica Lust is a human that makes porn and then developed this site, because like it's uncomfortable to know what you're scrolling through or doom scrolling through. And if you're going to have a site that has people that you know are like actually enjoying themselves in porn, because it a lot of times is like, it's folks that you don't know if they're getting paid. You don't know if they're even consensually interacting with the other person or persons involved. And so I'm reading back on this question because it's actually quite heavy, this question, right? When it's like, I have a hard time finding porn, and it actually like, it looks real, but is it real? Like, threesomes, where everyone is genuinely enjoying the hooking up with each other, that's heavy. But we know for a fact, Amy, because we've had Erica Luss on our show before, when she was on our show, she was saying like all of the credentials and the credentials of what people have to experience when they're talking about going into their act, into their scene. They have to like make sure that they're consenting to everything that happens, and also they're paid well. And the scenes are hot. Like, what's the last one that you remember? The threesome scene that remember we talked about this in a couple of like shows ago, the threesome hot, like with the couple that's an actual couple in real life. And they had another scene with like, I'm going to go like Susie Q. And yes, I'm going to go look, cause I have to look at our notes, but I loved that hot ass like scene. It's so good.
Yeah, and her films, they're beautifully done. And they're showing the full spectrum of things, from playful and flirty to slow burn intimacy, without the falling into the like triad clicks, or like the gauging on it's not working, or like someone's not into it. Erica Luss films also let you notice the details that make it work. Like, I mean, it's not educational porn, and yet you might even learn from it some mutual attraction, some ongoing consent, like little pieces where you're like, okay, here's how it works when things actually feel really hot and sexy. Everyone is staying engaged and connected. And it's sexy because it's real. And that realism makes it easier to picture yourselves in this situation versus other porn where you don't resonate with it, where you're like, I don't see how I fit in here because it doesn't seem very real. So if you want to learn more about Erica Luss, by the way, if you want to try it out yourself, go and check out some of the episodes, whether it's threesomes, foursomes, fivesomes, all the sums, or just some, I don't know, monogamy, kink, whatever you're into. You, as our listeners, you get 45% off when you use code SEX45.
Wait, 45?
45 with code SEX45 at Erica with a K, Luss.com. Again, that's Erica with a K. And you can go and learn what we are all about. That it's not all porn is created equal. If you have specific standards like this human, and good for you for having that and speaking your desires. And thank you for the question.
And guess what? It's real.
It is.
It's real.
It's very real.
Acting not included. Are you ready for a bio?
I am.
All right. Danielle Bezalel, MPH, aka DB, is the creator, executive producer, and host of Sex Ed with DB, your go-to podcast for smart, science-backed sex education, delivering trusted insights from top experts on sex, sexuality, and pleasure. To learn more, go to sexedwithdb.com or just listen on your favorite podcast app. Let's go.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the interview, to the meat, to the loveliness, to the magic. See what I did there?
Genius.
Our episode.
Wands with the magic.
Here they are. If you're not watching on YouTube or looking at the clips on Instagram, please go follow us at Shameless Sex. That's us. So you already heard a little bit about Danielle in the bio, in the intro, and maybe you heard a little bit about our lovely other guest who was a part of their research study, the Magic Wand study.
With real people.
With real humans, because actually it's real because she's right here. So her name is Sue Ann. Yes. So as we always do, and this is for Danielle, because we are going to get into Sue Ann's experience with the study shortly. Danielle, can you please tell us and our listeners a little bit more about how you got to the field of sexuality?
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me. Listen, I love being on this show. I love you both so much. And I'm so excited to get to know Sue Ann in this wonderful interview. How did I get into the field of sexuality? Well, I've been a sex educator and podcaster for over 8 years now. And long story short, my mom just retired, but she was an OBGYN for 30 plus years. And a story that I always tell is how she would come home from work and we would talk placentas over pizza. She would she would bring home a pizza from our local Vito's Pizzeria on Long Island, New York, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, that placenta from my patient, it just like wouldn't come out." And we would be like, "Mom, stop!" But I'd do the thing where I would kind of like peek through my fingers because I would want to know more. And so I've always been passionate through her about sexual health and women's health and people with vulvas. And yeah, eventually went and got my master's of public health at Columbia and focused in sexuality and reproductive health and started my pod, Sex Ed with DB. And here we are. I love teaching, I love educating, and love all things sex ed.
And the correlation too, just so everyone knows, like Danielle, you do work with Magic Wand because you are obsessed with Magic Wand.
Sure am.
As I mean, I think the majority of the world is that knows about it. They're like, I love Magic Wand. So it's not just random that we have her here, although she's an expert on so many levels. But thank you for joining us, and thank you for being in the Magic Wand Club with all of us. Because I know you talk about it a lot in your podcast. Yeah, it's awesome. And so for Sue-Ann, welcome to being on a podcast as a guest.
Know. It's the first
to have you. No, I hope you're not nervous. You feel like you're just like a pro, because we were talking to you before, and you're just smooth and easy to talk to. So we're so excited for you to share a little bit with our listeners, because we've touched on the Magic Wand study a little bit, because we love that there's studies going on about sexual health and pleasure, because that's rare and that hasn't really happened much before. So in terms of this particular study, which it's pretty much the first of its kind, by the way, would love to ask you about what inspired you to be a part of the Magic Wand study, and what was the experience like in participating in this study? Also, did you have a magic wand? Did you know what a magic wand is? So kind of a layered question for you.
Yes. So I have never used the magic wand prior to the study. When I was an undergrad, I studied human sexuality. Just, I had a random anthropology class and I was like, oh, this sounds fun. And so I ended up, my advisor was the professor and like chair of the anthropology department and taught sex education. And so I just decided to do it as like I was interested, and I come from a Caribbean household, but a more sheltered Caribbean household. And so I have the opposite experience of like, we didn't necessarily talk about sex. And so I was going out and looking things up and like researching and asking questions. And then through undergrad, I got involved with reproductive and sexual health and just wanted to learn more, wanted to be mindful of my own pleasure, my experiences. And so connected to the study, I just happened to follow a number of different researchers on Instagram. And I found out about the study through Instagram, and I sent it to all my friends. I was like, oh, look at this study. Let's sign up. Let's do it together.
Oh, the dream.
I did not think I was going to get picked, though. I was like, oh, this is random. And then I sent it. I was also working at an organization that was doing reproductive and sexual health work with teenagers in New York City. And so just, a bunch of different ways that I've kind of been connected to the work, but not necessarily as directly participating all the time. And so this is my second research study that I've participated in. I participated in one a few years ago during the pandemic on Black women and trauma with their sexual experiences. But this was nice to do pleasure, which is not something I think we talk about as often or in our conversations. And so I was just interested in contributing to the research.
Be nice if you could just have a job just having pleasure as research and be like, I have paid for that. I have 900 studies under my belt, and I know all about the moment that I can work out
my mortgage, all the things.
I'm encouraging and inviting that to be a thing
for you. Sue-Ann, are you like the friend that people go to and like, so how do I do this one thing? Or like, you're nodding your head. Yep.
So I literally have talked to everybody under the sun about this study. And it's also, I think, part of, I shared that my partner and we actively talked about it the entire time. Like I would be doing the surveys and he was there and he was like, well, what are they asking? And I'm like, oh, you want to know? Sure. Let's talk about it. Well, what do you think? What would you say? And so just being able to be super involved. And I think that, I talked to everyone about it. Literally. I'm like, oh my God, let me tell you what I did.
I think that's like, at least for April and I, that's kind of why we got into this world, at least podcasting. What about Danielle's like, yeah. Danielle,
I mean,
same.
It's just a dream to hear someone say that they're telling everyone they know about something that I kind of created this thing. So it's just, along with my team. So it's just I'm having a moment here. Don't mind me.
And congratulations to you for the success of this, Danielle. Because
thanks.
That's a really incredible feat to take on, and you crushed. You nailed it. You crushed it. You can look at the website and see, and the results, and also the discoveries. And we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to give you some love for that.
That's really nice.
Not easy. Thank you.
Yeah, we will put all all those links in the show notes. And this one is for Sue Ann. Again, you're back in the hot seat. I'm so curious. We will get into the study, like how the study works, what you created, Danielle, like all of these pieces that are also very important and exciting. And so for you, Sue Ann, what did you learn about yourself in participating in this? Did you learn anything new about yourself? Any like major aha moments?
I would definitely say I learned. So we did the study in February. And so I also been kind of thinking about the impact since then. In the work I do, I'm constantly thinking about impact. And so I do it in my personal life also. And so my partner and I had discussed, we were like, wow, the sex is just so different. Like, it's just so different since, and we've been trying to figure out like, what was that defining moment? And I do think that the orgasms have been some of the most intense, powerful experiences. And never did I ever think that I would be having orgasms from just having penile vaginal sex. And so that's the other part. Like, I have achieved orgasms where I didn't necessarily use a toy, or there wasn't as much foreplay. And I was just, and I want to say that it's part of like leaning into the pleasure and like going deep and kind of letting it happen and like sitting in it and sitting in the orgasms and these really powerful, intense orgasms is what I will say.
Okay, I want to hear more about that.
Very excited about this. So many
what? Yeah. Well, right. So many questions.
And that's it. Yeah.
Before we go there, because we want to dive deep into so many layers of this experience too. But I think first, let's hear from Danielle, because I think it's important to get to the beginning of the story, right? Like almost like the prologue, where people tell you why they're doing what they're doing. And obviously having Magic Wand is a part of it. So can you talk about why study pleasure at all? Like that, not that I would ever say that. However, someone may. And so what about your inspiration, and why did you feel that a vibrator intervention study was necessary? Is there a gap that we should know about, or is something that needing to be filled?
There's a lot of
things to fill.
Teenage boy puns right there.
There's a lot of holes to fill here, a lot of gaps. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll start there. So, like, as Sue Ann mentioned, right, like she had been part of another study before, and they're usually about sexual dysfunction. Like, that is pretty common, especially when it comes to looking at Black women, especially when it comes to looking at disabled folks, like people who are going to do studies about sexual health. They're doing it to talk about sexual dysfunction. Mm-hmm. But rarely are we talking about sexual function when people are thriving, when they're feeling pleasure. There are very few studies that have been done about using sex toy and measuring pleasure and how that influences overall well-being. And so that really, for me, as someone who, me and my team at Sex Ed with DB designed this study, and I went through it first about 2 years ago. And
Joy, it's just you? You're you used it
just me.
Okay. Oh,
just
wow.
Me.
Wait, what do they call that? The control?
Well, it was a solo longitudinal study is what it's called.
What were the results? Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I have like all the results down and we can get into that, but I definitely wanted to use that as kind of like proof to show that like actually pleasure really did have a major impact on my life. And what would it be like if we actually did this in an IRB approved scientific study with 1,000 people, and Magic Wand was on board and we were able to do it. And that's how many people did this study. And so, to answer your question of like, why do an intervention study at all, or why study pleasure at all? Have we looked outside? It's quite dark out there, metaphorically speaking. It is quite sad what's going on in our world and in our political situation, and human rights are being violated left and right. And pleasure is a human right, and it's powerful, and it can be used as a tool to create connectivity, happiness, joy, laughter, silliness. Like, it can really make us feel like the best versions of ourselves.
Longevity, health.
longevity. You could live to 1,000,000 if you just have an orgasm a day. Keeps the doctor away.
Okay.
No promises on this one, but
Yeah, no, that's not.
Don't
That's
sue
not
us
science
if that's
fact.
not true, but you can't sue us if you die from something else.
Right,
Okay,
right.
just
That's
say
it.
maybe maybe magic wand will make that possible. Nope, we're not going to keep that on air, but they are not signing up for that as being the message.
No, but I wish that would be great. But seriously, like at least when it came to my own study, my results showed that all of my quality of life indicators increased during using the magic wand every day week, magic wand week, as I called it. And it was really interesting to see, folks like Sue Ann and other 999 people participate in this study and see like what happened to them and what exactly was their experience.
And so this is all vulva owners, right?
All vulva owners, 18 plus in the US and Canada. That was kind of the requirement.
Remember, Amy, we were going to do it, but they was already full. And Sarah Tom
rejected,
just been in our show. No, she was like, hey, we're already full. And I was like, really? I was like, I wanted to do it. You guys already got full for a research study?
We probably responded like 8 weeks after it was happening.
and she was like, do you still want to do it? I'm like, well, look, I can't really forbid myself from using the magic wand when I don't want to because it was part of the study. But I was like, damn it, I wanted to be a part of it. And I love that like they had such great response. They had a great response to when they put it out there.
Yeah, which brings us to the methods of what you have the methods of your own personal experience, right? But then there's the methods of what Sue Ann was a part of. So what does that look like?
Yeah, they were very similar methods. We actually used pretty much the exact study design that me and my team designed and that I went through for the 1,000 people who went through this experiment. So essentially, here were the methods. So there was a baseline survey that was sent out in January of this year. A ton of people took it. In fact, 5,000 people applied to be in this study.
Wow!
And
so
originally,
you never would have made it anyways.
You never would have. I'm so sorry. Wow. You're rejected right from the start. Originally, it was going to be a 500-person study, and 5,000 people applied, and we were like, "Pretty please, can we make it bigger?" Because more people, there's more of a likelihood, essentially, when you have a bigger sample size, that these things aren't just happening by chance. And so 500 would have been great. It would have been science-backed and excellent amount of people, but 1,000 made it even better. And so a baseline survey was sent out to the 1,000 people who were chosen in January. Phase 1 was abstinence week, which was, the beginning of Feb for 1 week. No touchy, no touch, as we like to say.
With a toy or other people or your own hands?
Nothing.
That's what I was talking about. The 1 week.
Just full
I was like, I couldn't help. Yeah, I was like, no.
Yeah,
and honestly,
Sue Ann, how was that?
Yeah. Really good follow-up.
How was that week?
It was definitely a change. I think I've been thinking about it as you were talking, and I was like, oh, I just actively masturbate. Like you know what I mean? Like, so it was hard for me to be like, oh, well, let's not masturbate and let's not really do anything. Let's try not to do anything sexual that would turn us on to the point where maybe we might forget that we were doing the study. And so it was very intentional where I had to be like, no masturbating, like all the toys, everything's away. Nothing's close.
Yeah. And I'm a big dummy dumbhead, and I accidentally designed my own experiment that I could have chosen. And I was doing abstinence week while I was ovulating and while I was reading the end of like a sexy novel. I was
Worst timing ever.
That's when you put on jeans and you're like, this feels really good right now.
I can't do it.
I was like literally on a plane, and I watched what's the Richard Gere, Julia Roberts movie for
Pretty
the
Woman?
first time. Pretty Woman for the first time. That piano scene, I was like, I'm gonna go in the fucking bathroom here.
My
I hadn't seen it before.
That scene is so hot.
So hot. I was like, I can't act on this. This is torture. So yeah, I should have really thought about that. But anyway, first week, abstinence week, no touchy, no touch. Second week, magic wand every day week. Now, for my experiment, it was more of like masturbate with the magic wand. For this experiment, we said you could use the magic wand however you want. You could use it on your back. You could use it on your genitals. Your partner could use it on you, like however you want to use it. I would be really curious to hear actually from Sue Ann what your experience of using the magic wand every day was.
So listen, the first time I used it, I stopped. I was like, oh my God, this is intense. This is too much. I stopped. And then I was like, you know what? Let me try. Let me give it a good hard try. Let me see what happens. And I'm going to tell you, I was genuinely afraid, like scared. And I think that I had put it in the survey that like sometimes the orgasms were so intense, they were kind of scary. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And it's such a big instrument is what we'll say.
Yeah, the other
huge.
Yeah.
And so it sometimes is very intimidating. And I did have those moments. And then I think when I leaned in and I was like, you know what, let's just do this. Let's just see what this like entire orgasm feels like. It was an experience. It was drastically different than any vibrator I've ever experienced in my entire, like, it's to the point where I was like, oh, I need to get everybody a magic wand. And like I do a girls trip and we do it yearly and we always bring gifts. So there's 6 of us and each person brings a gift. And I said to 2 of my friends, I was like, don't be surprised if y'all get wands. Okay. Because you can't tell me
for the next year and all the other years, basically.
There were 5 different wands.
Okay.
That's getting them.
Listen, because you can't tell me what kind of gift to buy. So
I'm telling
you
you,
use it or not.
I want the little minis for my Christmas tree this year. My holiday tree,
the micros.
Yeah. I said that to Sarah Tom Chesed when we were at the last retreat, and I was like, "Do you think you can send me like 50 of those?" Even though I
have a really big tree.
I have a big tree. I want one all over my body, but I thought it would be the cute because they're so adorbs and they work though so well. Like the big magic wand, some people are like, that's so huge. And I'm like, look, it is big for many reasons. And the little micros are still so powerful. They pack a big punch. So I invite everybody to buy that for your holiday gifts.
For Sue Ann, one question: were you as part of I'm a little afraid of this. I don't know. Was one of your fears that it might burn your clit off and then you'll be desensitized and you can't feel pleasure anymore? Was that a thing at all? Because that's a common thing.
No, it's
a real thing, but yeah,
no, it's a real thing. It's a common thing, but it's not necessarily something I thought. I think I was just genuinely afraid of the type of vibration. It's different than the way other vibrators vibrate, and I was scared of the vibration and the unknown of what that vibration may cause for me. Like I had no idea what to expect. And so I was just genuinely scared. Now I'm not.
Now you're like, I'm
now I know.
Yeah. It's kind of my partner's embraced it. We have now magic wands on both sides of the nightstand, and he'll grab
direct traffic.
Yeah, because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to reach back. So anyway, I have all the wands, even my vintage one that had the lady with the unitard on it, and like in the back thing. It was 80s. I think it was 80s. Yeah. I got a Pure Pleasure Shop. Yeah. And anyway, but bringing it back to a question about, because this study was so cool. So remember, I want to give a shout out to Cher Height, who did one of the first pleasure studies, female pleasure. It was called Female Pleasure back in the 80s. And that was all by mail. And then it was like by the actual post, right? And sending out things. And she actually did a lot of research, and I watched a whole documentary about her. And so a shout out to her. She disappeared. She actually went to Paris and like
she gone
because she got a lot of flack, but she did a lot of that grunt work for, I think, like Pleasure Today, and she was a brilliant human that came into this. And I thought about her when this study came out, because there hasn't been a lot of talk or like just a lot of exposure again in pleasure in 2025. We have a lot more media now and a lot easier to access people. So for Danielle, for a question about this, again, coming back to this particular study, which I feel like was really, I mean, you can skew studies if you do things by the post. Now it's a little bit more difficult. So I want to know about any, like, obviously we kind of learned a little bit about who was in the study, but also what were the most striking findings, do you think, the results that you saw that were compiled with the research, the stats that were compiled, and what, if anything, surprised you?
Hundo P. I'm going to finish explaining the rest of the study also.
Yes.
So he said, first week, abstinence week, no touchy, no touch. Second week, use magic wand every day, however you please week. Third week, sex as usual, with or without the wand, with or without your sex toys, with or without your partner, etc. Then there was a completion survey at the end of February. So that was the whole methods of how everyone went through the study. It was like a full 21 days of intervention. And yeah, so now to the findings, there are a few key takeaways that I thought were really interesting to share. And I'm sure, Sue Ann, you can I'm going to see some nods from you about, I'm sure this is relevant to you. Across the board, most quality of life measures were in the dirt during abstinence week. Very low. Happiness, sleep, relationship connectivity, focus, etc.
She's nodding her head, everyone, if you're not watching on YouTube, by the way.
Yes. You can relate.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of proves our sex educator point that like ab only education fucking blows. And not only does it lend itself to, higher rates of unwanted pregnancy and STIs, but also it makes people like not as happy. And I think that people deserve the education. And if abstinence is their choice, if they have all of the other choices, then good on them. But we kind of forced people with their consent, because they were in the study, to engage in abstinence for a week. And I think it showed how shitty it was for everybody. Also, we saw that Magic Wand improved more than sexual wellness. So body image, confidence, distress, sleep quality, happiness, all improved over the course of the Magic Wand wellness study. This one's probably my favorite takeaway, which is that partner connectivity was actually highest during Magic Wand Week. So we kind of heard Sue-Ann talk about like
still nodding, everyone.
She's nodding, like, she and her partner like kind of was peeking over his shoulder and was like, "What are you filling out? What's going on?" Right? Like this maybe facilitated conversations and communication between partners, even though, during my study, while my romantic connection also went up with my partner, it wasn't as clear as it was in this study with these 1,000 people that like relationship connectivity really increased. And we find this exciting because there's a commonly held belief that sex toys negatively impact relationships. And we want to show in many ways, including in this scientific way, that that's actually not true. We have 2 more findings that I want to share. Each week of the study affected the next week. So the negative effects of abstinence week lingered during Magic Wand Week. And then participants started sex as usual week at a more positive baseline coming out of Magic Wand Week. So we call this the halo effect, which was really fascinating. And yeah, like just to kind of reiterate the fact that like people were doing daily diaries in this study, and using the magic wand and writing about it and thinking about it made a big impact on people. Like, so yeah, over the course of the 3-week study, most of those quality of life measures really did gradually improve. And we hypothesize on the research team that writing down and thinking through what your pleasure is like every day actually makes you more excited about it and more intentional about making time and carving out, space in your day to really engage with your pleasure practice. Sue-Ann is really nodding along here.
Wait, I forgot, because remind me again, was it only vulva owners? That
only vulva
okay,
owners.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to remind myself. Thank you.
Okay. And Sue-Ann is like, yes. So yes, so all this.
Yeah,
yes,
I think as I was listening, I was like, oh yeah, like because I was writing it down, I was also like having text exchanges with my partner, right? And so those exchanges about the pleasure definitely increased, but also because I was like actively, in a way, journaling, right? About my sexual pleasure. And I didn't make that connection until you were talking. And I was like, yeah, actually, how we like just communicate with each other in the middle of the day, like, is different than before.
Yeah, and that was going to be our next question, was the partner piece of how you shared a little bit how your sex life changed, and it's like essentially like mind-blowing orgasms all of a sudden, or different orgasms than what was happening before, or also you can orgasm now from penetrative sex. And so it sounds like your partner is very supportive. What do you think your partner's experience is? If you could share like from the beginning to the end and then now, which is months later.
So in the beginning, I mean, I think we've had a pretty active sex life, I think. And so I think that piece was always there. And I would always say like, oh, it was good. I think now I'm like, oh, this is every time it feels like it's better. And there hasn't been a time where we haven't used the wand with our I call them sexual experiences sometimes. There hasn't been a moment where we haven't used the wand. And I think it also like, it increased other toy use. So then I was like, he's like, oh, I'll send you some toys in the mail. And I was like, whoa, this is, wow. butt plugs. Okay.
That's fun though. That's fun.
All right. Well, I've opened this can of worms of like, oh, like, let's talk about it. Let's experience it. Let's explore. Let's like doing things that we hadn't done before, which I think has been nice.
So is your partner stoked for as to about you participating in the study and how your sex life is now?
Yes. Yes. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think, there are moments, I think when I admitted out loud that like I was having an orgasm even without a vibrator or just like from like him supporting that, right? Where I wasn't necessarily controlling the entire thing. He was like, oh my God, let me kind of sit up straighter. Wow. And it was like, I could tell he was trying to like contain himself. He was like, oh yeah, I did that. Whereas like that's never like, and I also had to kind of like, manage that. Like never have I ever given anyone so much power to control my orgasms. Like that's just, and so it was a very intimate moment when we realized, and that was like, I would say probably like May, June. That's like recent, right? We kind of talked about it like whenever we've had moments or when we were like, oh, this feels similar. But I think when it started to happen where it was like, oh, I'm having orgasms, you just got here. Like we just started. It just slid in. It's not, I don't understand. Like, yes, I think you're attractive and there's lots of great chemistry, but this is not normal. Yeah. It's not normal for us and it's very different. And I will say that I attribute that to like, I'm masturbating regularly. I'm using the magic wand. I'm like leaning into those orgasms like normally. And I said to him, I was like, this is different because sometimes he's controlling the magic wand. And normally if I'm masturbating and I have an orgasm, I stop, right? Because I physically cannot continue. Whereas if you are controlling the magic wand and you're just going, these orgasms are like continuous for a period of time that I would not have controlled.
Did he try it on his body at all? Was he like, how does this feel on my body?
But I did ask him, how does
object.
It feel? Like, how does it feel while I'm using it and we're having sex? He was like, no, I can feel the vibrations. Like I can feel like the intensity of it. Like I can still feel it through you.
That's hot. Just saying. That is hot. And been there. And also so glad you are experiencing
Sounds
that.
Like you
and your partner too.
Up.
You're welcome.
You're all the thumbs. All
Not
the
that
thumbs
magic
are-
wand
That's
is
why I'm
ours.
here. That's why I'm here. I want to share so that everyone's having great sex.
Yes.
Okay?
And thank you for this. This is so raw and real. And I love that you're a human willing to be brave and vulnerable and open with us. And we appreciate that because it's not easy to do. And it's rare that we get someone that isn't, credited in some way to come on as a human with their backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit in sexuality, but still it's not like fully. So maybe we're going to suck you into our world now. And maybe we'll be back.
Fact. Most pussy owners need some sort of clitoral stimulation to orgasm, and many are not having orgasms from penetrative sex.
Say what?
I know, right? This is one of the many reasons why we are obsessed with OMG Yes. Not only has it changed our lives in the orgasm department, but I've been recommending OMG Yes to my clients for years, and it's completely changed their sex lives as well. OMG Yes features scientific research of real vulva owners, aka women, showing techniques to pleasure the pussy. They turn the research into tasteful, educational short videos, animated modules, and infographics for easy visual learning.
They call it OMG Yes for a reason, because OMG Yes is for anyone who wants to learn about pussy pleasure or take it to the next level. Whether you're a beginner or someone who wants to take your orgasms from good to mind-blowing, then you need to check out OMG Yes. They have 3 seasons: external pleasure, internal pleasure, and sex toys. It's not a subscription service, y'all, so you don't need to download a single thing. And it's great for partners who want to pleasure that pussy too. And for listeners of our show, OMGS is offering 10% off when you go to omgyes.com/shameless. Again, that's omgyes.com/shameless to receive 10% off unlimited access towards enhancing your pleasure power forever. Newsflash, everybody. we are picky about our lubes.
Can we say uber picky?
Yes, we can. And let me tell you all why Uber Lube is our absolute favorite lube ever. Uber Lube is a luxurious silicone lubricant that I want all over my body. Yes, it's designed for sex because it enhances intimacy while allowing you to still feel the skin-on-skin contact, but it feels so good that I want it everywhere. Uber Lube is long-lasting, leaves your skin feeling velvety smooth, and it's there when you want it, but then it dissipates when you're done.
Yes. Aside from using Uber Lube for all of my sexy sessions, and I use it all the time, I also use it for massages, for my hair frizzies, to prevent chafing, and it brings out the color of your beautiful tattoos. Thousands of doctors and therapists in the US alone are recommending Uber Lube to their patients because it's body-friendly, less likely to change the pH, and has vitamin E so it feels moisturizing on the skin. Uber Lube has no flavor or scent, which means it's also great for oral sex. And it comes in a beautiful glass bottle with a pump top, which means easy access to Pleasure Town.
Want to see why we think Uber Lube is the best lube in the world? Then go to uberlube.com and use discount code SHAMELESS to get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com right now with code SHAMELESS for 10% off and free shipping. So for Danielle, a question for you, because I think we need just some more context because this is so interesting. So in terms of representation, like how did representation shape what you found in this study and what still needs to be studied? Because there's got to be a lot of things in that realm. So for example, maybe like disabled folks, perimenopausal, menopausal folks, trans folks, non-binary communities, just as examples.
Totally. Yeah. I have to say this study was hella diverse. Like I would love to tell you the stats here because I was really blown away at how diverse our sample was. So first of all, when we're talking about age, we had 1,000 people aged 18 to 84. 84 Dang. Was the oldest person. We're talking grandmas here. We're talking, like people are old. And this is 200 people in each age cohort. So it wasn't just a majority were 18 to 24. It was like 18, to mid 20s. We're talking about 20s and 30s. So like all the way through the gamut. And then the highest was kind of like a 55 plus of the age cohort. And so that's super diverse in and of itself. You usually don't see people aged, throughout the lifespan like that. And then when we're talking about sexuality and race, 72% were LBQ, so queer in that sense. Almost 40% were BIPOC. And 32% were gender expansive. So also another thing that you don't really see in studies like this. Usually it's cishet women, but 32% gender expansive is incredibly diverse for 1,000-person study. And also a few more interesting stats. 75% were partnered. And 60% roughly had never used a magic wand before, similar to Sue-Ann. So, definitely would have been interesting to ask more about folks who have reproductive health conditions. So anyone who has endo or people who are struggling with PCOS, I think that would have been interesting to, focus on that population. Definitely folks with disabilities. That's not something that we focused on when it came to that sample in our population. There's endless amounts of studies that you could do, but I do think given our constraints and given the folks who signed up and who were randomly selected, we were very lucky with how diverse this sample was.
Okay, so I'm super curious about a number of things related to what you're saying in this study in general. One will be what's your next dream study? And I'd also like to hear what Sue-Ann thinks should be the next dream studies or the studies that should be available. And I will connect this to what should therapists, doctors, OBGYNs, what should they know or what can they take away from this study? What do you both think? What's next and what should happen?
Can we send them a flyer? Send them a flyer.
Should we send this podcast
In sharing this with folks, I think one thing that came up with a friend who had recently had a baby, she was like, I would love to look at research around pleasure and like being a new mom and like postpartum sex. And I was like, I don't know. And let me Google. um, but that's probably the biggest thing that comes up just from my conversations and like what I've shared with folks. And I was like, oh wow, like it's not a conversation I've had with my friend. I don't have children, and so it's not a conversation I've had with my friends or like about sex after having babies and like what that's like and how do you like center pleasure in your relationship. And I was like, wow, it's not something I thought about, but also I'm not a parent.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I feel like there's such an opportunity with college age people. Like, I feel like thinking back to my college days, that was bad, like sex that I was
Oh my
having.
God. Yes.
Terrible. Just like awful
Terrible.
sex. And like everyone's experiment. Like a lot of people are experimenting in college. People put their feet up. They don't know where to finger. They're just very confused. And especially when we're talking about like cis het couples, like the orgasm gap like doesn't start from nowhere, right? Like it really does begin from when people are starting to engage in sex later in high school, definitely in college. And so I think there's a big opportunity here to introduce college students to sex toys without shame early on so that they can learn their bodies and get to know themselves at the right time rather than feeling like shit, I have to unlearn all this stuff later in my 30s or something, as most people do it. Like just kind of strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. So that would be like a dream next study for me. And yeah, well, there was another question in there hidden.
The other piece of that, so yeah, the dream study part, and then the other piece was
with the primary care.
What do you think that for therapists and doctors, like, we could take away from this and more?
Yeah, I'll answer this, and then I would love to hear from our wonderful Sue Ann. But I'm thinking that pleasure is prescriptive. Like we don't really think and talk about pleasure, especially self-pleasure, as part of our practice of, oh, you should meditate more, you need to eat healthily, you need to exercise, you need to go to therapy. Like everyone's kind of on board with those things, but for some reason we are not saying you should have a self-pleasure practice. And for my study, before, I extrapolated all of this to 1,000 people, what I found was that like if my job stress was low, if my relationship connectivity was high, if my self-pleasure practice was in tune, and I felt like I was laughing with my friends, like those were the 4 things that I like needed in order to feel like a happy whole person. And so I would love for doctors and professionals to know that pleasure is a tool that can be used to help people be happier, healthier people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What about you, Sue Ann? Anything you want to add to that one?
I would say centering your pleasure. I think sometimes we live and work in societies where, as people, or as women, we just don't center our pleasure, and other people's pleasure is prioritized over us. And I think in masturbating and in just like enjoying yourself and leaning into that and like really leaning in and leaning in deep and just sitting in it. And also like thinking about journaling and like reflecting on how you feel after those experiences is probably what I would recommend. Like just masturbate and then journal. What are the first few thoughts that come to your mind, right? Mm-hmm. After you have masturbated, after you use the magic wand, and think about, okay, how do I feel and how do I like move in that space?
Has anyone ever had a doctor or therapist ask them about their self-pleasure masturbation practice? No. I have not.
Never.
Yeah, okay.
No.
All of us are like,
so encouraging all of you listening. Also, I want to say, if you are like cringing at journaling, I voice journal because I get writer's cramp when I write, and my writing is so shitty that I can't even read it after I write. So I will look back at a journal entry. I'm giving air quotes because it's journaling that I am like, this is encrypted journaling that I can't read because I don't know. So I do voice journaling where I just have, and I think that's powerful.
At sea.
Yeah. So, because that is a thing, people are like, I hate writing in a journal. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, yo, we have all this technology now that's so easy. And I love that. I love these last final pieces because I think just take a note from this interview with these 2 beautiful humans and this research. Take a note that like pleasure is important. That's what we're learning, right? Pleasure is important. Danielle spoke to it. Obviously, Sue Ann experienced it, the importance of it without even knowing what it was going to do to her, how it was going to impact her. And even though you didn't feel, at least this is what I received from this interview, that you necessarily knew how important your pleasure was, but I feel like the impact of the post research study really exemplified that, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to speak for you. Does that sound?
No,
does that
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, I thought I was tapping into all the pleasure. I think that's what it is. I thought there was like a cap, right? And I think that is probably for me the defining moment in the studies. Like, I came into it like, yeah, I masturbate. I like, I'm sex positive, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then it's like, wait a minute now, maybe I actually had no idea what I was doing, or like I had no idea the potential, or I kind of limited what I could have experienced by, just thinking, oh yeah, this vibrator and this experience is it. Whereas I feel like it's a little limitless now. Like I feel like every time I'm having these like drastically different, intense, really beautiful experiences and orgasms that I never imagined that I would have.
I love that. I think that that's exactly where
if you're watching us, we're shaking baking.
You guys got to cheers the wands.
Cheers to you.
Yeah, you go. So, okay. Thank you so much, Sue-Ann, for that. And obviously we are going to wrap up the interview, and we obviously are so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you for this, this sharing of your experiences and your perspective. And those words I think are important for everyone to just digest and take in. And for folks that want more Danielle Bezalel, you can get a lot more Danielle because
sure can
is available. Like, you are incredible on TikTok. You're an incredible podcaster. You are an incredible researcher. And I won't actually let people know where they can find you, because I always want more Danielle. When DB's on the show, I'm like, where can we get more DB? and also, I know that we can find magic wands on purepleasureshop.com, but where are you going? Like, how do people find you, work with you, and get their own magic wand?
Yeah, God, I love you guys. I love being here. This is so fun. You've been on my show a few times. I've been on yours a few times. We'll just keep doing it. Keep doing it till someone complains, which I'm sure no one will.
If they complain,
get out of here.
We'll just blank it out.
Yeah. Right. You can find me a lot of places: on Instagram at Sex Ed with DB Podcast, on TikTok at Sex Ed with DB, sexedwithdb.com. You can listen to me wherever you listen to podcasts, Sex Ed with DB. If you really are interested in more stuff about the study, you can email me, sexedwithdb@gmail.com. And yeah, I am so excited that this is like the first of hopefully many studies like this. I think studying pleasure and having amazing people like Sue-Ann come and talk about their experiences is so special. So stay tuned for more studies like this.
That's right, y'all. And if you do want your own magic wand, go to purepleasureshop.com. You know the coupon code. If you don't by now, then I'm going to be not mad at you. But come on, man. What have you been listening to? What have you been listening to for almost 8 years? And if you haven't reviewed us, make sure you do that too, because that helps more people find more about sex, relationships, intimacy, and everything in between. And it gives people the power to feel like themselves. And it gives people that healthy existence that they deserve. And you deserve to experience pleasure. That's you and your mom, your grandma, all of the people deserve to experience pleasure. Consensual sex is great sex, y'all. So I'll leave it with that. If you want more shameless sex, go to shamelesssex.com, because we have events, we've got retreats, we've got all the things. But really, really thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Sue-Ann, for being here with us. Check out Sex with the DB. If you haven't checked it out yet, you're missing out, because that podcast is lit. All right, y'all. I will say magically send you off with mwah, I love you, magic wand. I love you so much, listeners. We will see you next Tuesday for another episode. Ciao for now.
To learn more, go to shamelesssex.com.
And for 15% off some of our favorite sex toys, use code shamelesssex at purepleasureshop.com.